Hi there, it is the last day of February, which means today is my last Black History Month profile of a badass black woman. And today we're going to talk about Lillian Thomas Parker Fox. She had a lot of names because she was married 3 times, but we will begin with something that she said, which was, "We believe that what should most interest women is woman, despite the glaring indication that her chief consideration, as well as chief glorification, is man." I'm going to read a big chunk of the rest of that speech to you, but first let's talk about her biography. She was born free in Chicago in 1854, but she grew up in Wisconsin, which is where she went to public school. Her father was a pastor, her mother was a school teacher. She ended up going to the Indiana-Boston School of Elocution and the Indianapolis Institute for Young Ladies. As a young woman, she helped support herself not only through writing, but learning how to sew and becoming a seamstress. But in the 1880s, her name became nationally known because of her work as a journalist. She began at the Indianapolis Freeman. She also, throughout her career, was a tireless civil rights leader, which we'll talk about. She co-founded the Women's Improvement Club in Indianapolis, helped create the Indiana State Federation of Colored Women's Club in 1904. She fought for improvements to public health and devoted a lot of her time and resources to getting better care for tuberculosis patients within the black community. She was a superintendent of the Sisters of Charity Hospital in Indianapolis. She was the only woman on the editorial staff of the Indianapolis Freeman, which was one of the most major black newspapers at the time. Throughout her life, active with the Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, constantly saying that the church was obligated to help the poor and to advocate for civil rights. Fox worked closely with Ida B. Wells in the National Afro-American Civil Rights Organization. She became the Indianapolis delegate to that organization, and while Ida B. Wells organized the delegates to take on the new task of sort of bridging the divide between these communities, asking everyone to work together in solidarity. In 1900, she gave a speech to the Afro-American Press Association. She was talking about the role of women in journalism. And after that, she was hired as a correspondent with the Indianapolis News, a white newspaper, which made her the first black person to work for a white newspaper in Indianapolis. She also became the first black person to have a regular news column in a white newspaper in the state. Her column was called News of the Colored Folk. It was incredibly influential. She used her status and her platform always to advocate for the marginalized and the disempowered. She was a state representative to the National Afro-American Council's Executive Committee, active in the Indianapolis Anti-Lynching League, gave a speech to the Atlanta Congress for Women, encouraging women to become activists and community organizers. Lillian Thomas Parker Fox carried on this work throughout her entire life. She died of a stroke, a cerebral hemorrhage, in 1917 and was later posthumously admitted into the Indianapolis Journalism Hall of Fame. I have kind of a long excerpt from one of her speeches that I want to end with reading here. "Woman's condition today, as compared with her condition in no far remote time, stands out in contradistinction in favor of the present. But even now, she is environed with untoward odds which operate in many instances to stultify her aspiration or palsy her effort. And yet, a number sufficient to wield telling influence have in the last few decades invaded, as one Lord of Creation has termed it, the ranks of the arts, sciences, and industries, and have flung into the burning pile, which is fast consuming the yokes of individuals and nations, that theoretic weakling, i.e., that woman is incapable of mastering economics outside the domestic realm. The loom, spinning wheel, and quilting frames have been exchanged for the desk, the ledger, the brush and palette, the calligraph, and the camera. Churn, milk stool, soap kettle, and lye hopper have each and all been relegated to dust-covered obscurity, whence they are only brought to do service as a cornerstone upon which some muse can build his lore of ye olden time. Yet woman has not abandoned the duties incumbent upon her as wife and mother, nor waived her claim to the coronet which bears the inscription Queen of Home, but has resolved the routine of household duties, which to our grandmothers were veriest meniality, and which were often the bane of a cheerless existence, into a systematized series of domestic functions of which she's the proud promoter. If the broadening out of woman's mind by the leaven of science, philosophy, and art bear no other beneficence than the permeating of this earthly shrine, the home, with the aroma of culture and refinement, and inculcating in the breast of the inmates of that home love for the good and the beautiful, the seeker after such knowledge had built well. Nature mellows the heart, while the development of the mind creates a window through which the erstwhile mental captive may behold and appreciate the beauties of nature. But in this, a day of great possibilities, the feminine heart yearns for broader paths wherein to walk, an intellectual highway whereon all nations or sects may walk abreast. This granted, the son and daughter go hand in hand to the halls of learning, and on common ground prepare for the arena of life, and for the time when, should fickle fortune, whose mandate bars no creed or sex, decry the undoing of their success, they have won alike a safeguard against wreck or ruin as a result of helplessness. Lillian Thomas Parker Fox, one of the legends of journalism and a model for pretty much any of us. Have a wonderful day. Happy Black History Month. And as always, please be kind.